I wouldn't know if that's true, not ever having had enough cash to make a proper test, but I do know Thane McAllister had misery aplenty, even if he was a cattle baron. Consumption had took his wife Lucinda 6 years before, and her dying like to broke Thane's big heart altogether. He went away somewheres inside himself and throwed up a wall nobody could get through. That wouldn't have been so bad, maybe, except his only daughter Julie couldn't get through either. Julie McAllister was only 12 at the time, but it seemed like she took her mother's passing even harder than Thane did. What she needed was for her daddy to put his arms around her and tell her everything was going to be all right, but Thane never done that. I guess he didn't know how. Thane knowed about the range and cowpunchers and what the mama cow said to her calf, but he didn't know straight up about a young girl's needs. I reckon he loved her all right. He just didn't know how to show it. So he sent Julie off to a boarding school back east and hoped for the best. The best ain't what he got. The first few years, everything seemed to go pretty well. Julie stayed at the school 9 months of the year and spent her summers back at the ranch. I used to see her sometimes in Dry Creek with her dad, but there always seemed to be an air of sadness about her. I asked her how she was once, and she told me she was happy. It's not for me to say she wasn't, but happy was not the first thing that came to mind when a person saw her. It wasn't long before the rumors drifted back home. Julie and another girl had got into some blackberry brandy somewheres and had to be brought back to school by the police. Julie was sneaking off and spending her days riding horses in the city park. Julie was keeping company with the stable boy and staying out past the school's curfew. It was all just gossip, you know, but it did seem that everything was not well back there at Miss Chatelain's school for young ladies. Thane paid a few visits to the school, to smooth Miss Chatelain's ruffled feathers and try to straighten Julie out, people said. Then, a year ago, after his third trip east in as many months, Thane throwed in the towel and brought Julie home to stay. I had signed on with the M-Cross that spring as horse wrangler for the roundup, and it was early May when I rode out to the home ranch. Like other big outfits, the M-Cross generally took on a bronc stomper to work the rough string, but the man they'd hired hadn't showed up yet. I told Waco Calhoun, Thane's foreman, that I wanted to handle my own horses. He allowed that I could. There was 6 head in my string, and I commenced working them by day down at the round corral. I took my meals over at the cook shack and spent my nights rubbing liniment on my sore places. The M-Cross had the reputation of providing good horses to their cowhands, and the 6 ponies they gave me seemed honest and willing. They all bucked some at first saddle, of course. They'd been running free all winter and were full of new grass and feeling frisky. I suppose they were curious about me as well, and did their buck jumping to see what kind of rider they'd got themselves assigned to.